Friends, I'm with Bill Salier again. Thank you, Bill, for joining us.
Pleasure, thanks,
It's been so helpful. The way in which you're just off the cuff, just exploring the passage and the broader context and the broader context of the Bible. It's been terrific.
Good, thanks.
I'd love to give you the feedback, but since we're all filming this in one head...
Yeah, we've got to keep going.
Now, we're in the second half of John 15.
Yep.
You've talked about Jesus being the true vine. And that was excellent. Apart from Jesus, we can do nothing. Now Jesus starts to talk about persecution and that the world does not hate you, but it hates me. Starting to anticipate persecution for the disciples.
That's right.
And we're moving in a post-Christian, very hostile towards Christians. So we're really identifying what's going on. Why don't you unpack this for us?
Yeah, no, totally. I think this is one of those ones where people think, okay, this is really where we are today in perhaps ways that we weren't 5-10 years ago. This idea of the word hate is really strong, but I think people probably feel that more than they did before. We talked last time about how the three bases, God, love your neighbour, and hear. The world, the first point that he makes is not how you respond to the world, but how the world will respond to you. But then in that context, the disciples are to respond with testimony. Right. So that's the really key thing. Right. The world is going to hate you, but you need to keep speaking. Don't be cowed into not talking. So the really here, the key point right at the very beginning is the identification with Jesus. That the disciples, and I think by extension us, we will be hated because of our allegiance to Jesus. Right. And I think people kind of get that again in our context. If you mention that you're a follower of Jesus, you can immediately feel the air chill a little bit. And all you've mentioned is his name.
I mean, you can talk about God.
You can talk about God.
Okay,
yeah, that's right. But Jesus is very specific. Yeah, no, that's right. And so we get this kind of sense. The other point he makes is that we no longer belong to the world. So we've been kind of called out of the world. We don't live in monasteries, but we kind of live in the world. But people will recognise that we're different. Right. And again, perhaps those differences are becoming more institutional in our culture with moves of same-sex marriage and abortion, euthanasia, those big issues. Our very presence means that we're suddenly way out of step with the world, that different drum. So all these reasons combine to see this idea of persecution. But note the point here is that there's no surprises here. As part of every discipleship course we've got to understand that we're going to be, and it won't always be comfortable. If you want a comfortable life, become I was going to say a Buddhist, but I don't know if that's comfortable or not. but do something else, and just join in with the crowd. But Jesus is saying, if you're going to be with me, it's not going to be comfortable. In fact, he says to the disciples in chapter 16, they're going to put them out of their synagogue, their home church, and there will come a time when people will kill them and think they're doing God a favour. And so we're probably not at that stage because we're living in an atheistic society. But people would now think if they're silencing Christians, they're certainly doing the world a favour. So there is a righteousness in the kind of opposition to Christians.
Yes, this is hate speech.
Totally.
And needs to be silenced, and so do we.
We're
exactly. Intolerant. We're on the wrong side of history.
Wrong side of history.
From the view of the world.
All that kind of stuff. And Jesus is adamant, though, the Spirit is going to testify, you must also testify. And don't be surprised or you will fall away. The big danger in this passage is not losing your life, it's losing your salvation. He's saying this so you will not stumble. Right. So it's a pretty sober passage as we go through.
I think Revelation 21, the list of sins that mark those who are in the pit, the first one is actually cowardice.
That's right.
And Paul was clear, anyone who wants to live a godly life will be persecuted. It's not as popular as John 3:16, but it's there, it's a promise and you can trust.
Exactly, no, totally.
Bill, thank you very much, brother. Okay. And let's keep persevering on with Jesus for he has already anticipated there are no surprises, and he has given us the Spirit to bear witness to him. Have a great week.